Hello and welcome to our next Zoom transition lesson. Today we will be talking about what? Not Bob the Builder, but talking about planning, maintenance, and safety. Here are the Alabama Alternate Achievement Transition Standards for this section that we're going to cover. I'm not going to read them all word for word, but all these are focused on independent living skills and as well as safety. So we're talking about looking at the items and devices that we use, maintaining those, having a plan to their upkeep, making sure they're working, making sure they're safe. And we're going to focus on safety drills. Those could be fire drills, lockdowns, or severe weather. The AA symbols that we are going to be focused on are three of them. So we have fix, use, and call. Those are the three that we're going to be using. There's other ones that you could use, but these are just the we chose. With the PowerPoint, you can print these off, laminate them, and the students can use them in the classroom. I am joined today by two students. I got Chris and Brandon. Let's check and see what they're doing. Hey guys. I see you guys are doing some maintaining of a car there. That's going well. Very good, very good. So when it comes down to things that you own, things that you have, it comes down to respecting and taking care of things. Everything that you use it with respect and take care of it. That way it will last a long time. This is a random picture of a kid's book, but the sentiment is true, the idea is true. Respect the things that you have, the things that you use. So let's talk about having a plan. Now if we look over here again at Brandon and Chris, they had a plan, a very detailed plan to change this oil in the car. So when we talk about planning, it comes down to identifying potential problems that you might have with whatever the device may be. Planning what time and what materials you may need. Get out of the way here. Scheduling the time to make that happen and then executing that maintenance. Now, for some things, it might be an easy fix that you can do yourself. For other things, it may be that you have to make a service call or get help with that potential maintenance. So what are the things that we need to maintain to make sure they're in working order? Well, if you are in a chair, you gotta make sure that that thing rolls around, that it is safe, the seatbelts work on there. That wheelchair needs to be maintained and it needs to be safe. Ramps that you may use, whether that's for wheelchair or just walking up and down to get to places, those need to be looked at, maintained, and make sure that they're safe. And then the car example that we saw Brandon and Chris on, you gotta maintain that car, make sure it's safe, make sure that it runs. But that's not all. And again, these are all things that you use. Other things that you may use to consider, any appliances around the house, facilities, school, wherever that may be, washing machines, ovens, all those things. Make sure they're in working order and they're safe and maintained. And then whatever devices you may use, either for fun, whether that's video games, TV, or whether it's pretty important so far as a computer or your phone, to make sure those are maintained. Those are all the things that you may use. Household maintenance is another thing to consider. If we look at this example here, there's all kinds of things that go into taking care of a house, on the inside and the outside. And let's talk about a schedule for maintenance. I'm not going to read this word for word, but again, you can look at the PowerPoint with your students or pause the video, and you can see in this example with each season, they give things that you can do to help maintain that house that you're living in or the apartment, whether that's looking at in the spring, tuning up the air conditioner, looking at the air ducts, in the summer, making sure your fans work and all the filters are there that are working. In the fall, thinking about turning the heat on, and in the wintertime, maintaining that heat system and the generator or the heat pump or whatever that you may need to keep that house in good shape and in good maintenance. But guess what happens? Eventually, what happens? Everything breaks. Nothing lasts forever. So we have to have that plan to say, can I fix it myself? Or do I need to make a service call and ask for help? And maybe pay for that service or get support to get that thing fixed and maintained so it's in good working order. So it may be, let me get out of the way here, it may be that we can fix, or it may be that we have to call. So maintaining. I included this in the email that you can print off and use in your classrooms. It's 15 chores, and it gives you a visual representation of what it is along with the words, and so you can use this as a matching activity. Let me scroll down a little bit here. So it has 15 things you can do to maintain the area that you're living in, whether that's house, facility, classroom. It could apply to a lot of those things, and so you can have students match those activities there. How's the car going, guys? That maintenance plan, you're implementing that plan? It looks like you're about to put the oil in right now. That's pretty good. All right. So the next section of this whole list of transition standards is talking about safety. And so for the sake of where we're at right now in school, we're going to talk about safety drills. So this could be anything from a fire drill right here, a lockdown drill, or a severe weather drill. Usually around here we practice the tornado drill, but there's many other severe weather events that could happen. But these are the ones that we usually do every month to make sure we know the routine and we know how to keep you safe and ourselves safe as well. So let's check in on Brandon and Chris. Oh, I see you guys are checking out some fire alarms. All right, so inside your classroom, these are posted. These are even posted in the hallways, and these are specific to our school. So in the event of severe weather and the event of a tornado, it shows us a diagram of our classes, and it shows us the safe places to go. So when we practice those every month, students should be familiar with where to go, how to keep safe, and the staff as well. Additionally, we have the fire escape routes. So practice these and role playing these is important, again, to know where to go and what to do in the case of an emergency. There are many other areas in the building, and these are not specific to ours, but we do have one of these in the front office. This is in case if somebody has a cardiac event or a heart attack. This is a device that is in a lot of public places to deal with that emergency. And in this example, there's a fire extinguisher and even an emergency phone. And here's an example of a fire alarm that is all around in most buildings, in our building as well. So all those are focused on safety. Now in our building, it's only one floor, so it's not an issue. But if you're out in the community, in a facility, in a different place, different location that has multiple floors, this is something that needs to be considered too. In the event of a fire drill or an actual fire, you're not going to be able to use the elevator. And so you're going to have an emergency evacuation chair or some kind of an emergency evacuation plan if you're in a chair to get you safely down the steps and out of the building to safety. So this is an important thing to be familiar with and those around you to be familiar with so you can get out. So talking about safe, let me pull up. Let's pull up some PDFs here. Again, I put these in the email invite. And so what this is kind of a picture story, if you want to call it, or a AAC guide for fire drill right here. Let me get it on the page. And it just gives a picture representation in a very simplistic way to describe and go over the students to role play or whatever you may want to do for fire drills. I have this one here. So again, similar concept. It goes over in a very simplistic way with pictures of how to go about with a tornado drill, the lockdown drill. So same deal, describes that process with some simplified pictures to role play in your classroom so students are familiar with the process. All right, what do you guys think about all this information? We got a plan to maintain stuff we own. We're gonna respect the stuff we own. We're gonna try to fix it ourselves if we can. If we can't, we're gonna call for help. And we know the procedures for our safety drills. So that is all. Thank you very much to Brandon and Chris for being with me today and going over these standards. Let me go back to them. All right. Thank you, everybody. And we'll see you next time.